There's a man sitting in a car, engine off, parked outside his own house.
Okay, why?
That's the thing. He's been there for maybe 12 minutes, and there's no reason.
He's not on the phone or anything?
No, he can see the light in the window. His family is inside. He knows that. He's not tired. He's not waiting for anything. He's just sitting.
That's strange. But also, I don't know, it doesn't feel that strange.
Right. And if you asked him why, he wouldn't know what to say. Not because something is wrong, but because something, somewhere inside, isn't ready yet.
Isn't ready for what?
To go in. To be seen. To be present. To carry whatever is waiting inside that house.
Does he love them? His family?
Yes. That's not the question. That's what makes it so interesting. He loves them. He wants to go in. And he's still sitting there.
Because something is pulling him back.
Something in him isn't ready to arrive. And I think that gap between the door and himself, those few feet he keeps recreating without meaning to, that's not nothing.
No, that's actually a lot.
We've all had a version of this. Maybe it wasn't a car. Maybe it was a conversation you walked away from right before it got real. Or a prayer you started and then left without finishing.
Not because you forgot.
Not because you forgot. Because something pulled you back. Something in you wasn't ready to arrive.
The old scholars had a name for this, didn't they?
Not a diagnosis, not a judgment, just an observation that there is something in the human being that resists the very thing it longs for.
The naffs.
The naffs. And the thing is, it doesn't always fight with anger. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's very quiet about it.
Sometimes it just sits in the car.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something weird?
Yeah, what happened?
No, nothing happened. Okay, so yesterday I was in this meeting, right? And someone asked me a question. A normal question. And I knew the answer. Like, I knew it.
Okay.
And I just didn't say it. I just sat there, smiled, like an idiot.
Wait, why?
Because I was scared I'd say it wrong. Like, I'd mess up the sentence. Or use the wrong word. And everyone would look at me and think, oh, she doesn't really know English.
Oh, man.
And I've been thinking about it since yesterday. Like, why do I do that? Why do I go silent when I actually know the thing?
Because, honestly, I do the same thing all the time.
Really?
Yeah. More than I want to admit.
Okay, good. So it's not just me.
It's definitely not just you. Actually, I think it's most people. Like almost everyone who's learning a language. Or even people who speak it well.
Wait, even people who are fluent?
Yeah, I mean, the fear doesn't just disappear when you get better. It kind of shifts. Like, when you're a beginner, you're scared you'll say something wrong. When you're more advanced, you're scared you'll sound less smart than people think you are.
Oh, that's actually really true. Like, there's always something to be afraid of. It's ek bor, and that's kind of depressing.
I mean, yeah. But also, you can just stop letting it win. That's kind of the whole thing.
Easier said than done, Alex.
Oh, 100%. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's possible.
Okay, so let's talk about this because I feel like this is a thing nobody really talks about, honestly. Like, people say, just speak. But they don't say what it actually feels like to speak when you're terrified.
Right. They make it sound so simple. Just open your mouth. But like, the problem isn't opening your mouth. The problem is everything that happens in your brain before you do.
Yes, exactly. Like, there's this whole storm inside. Before one word even comes out.
Yeah, the storm is like, wait, is this the right word? How do I pronounce this? What if I mess up the grammar? What if they don't understand me? What if they laugh?
And by the time the storm is over, the moment is gone.
Exactly. The conversation moved on and you just missed it.
And then you feel even worse.
Yeah. Because now you're not just scared of speaking, you're also beating yourself up for not speaking. It's like a double hit.
So what do you think the actual fear is, like underneath everything, if you really break it down?
I think it's the fear of being seen as stupid. Like, genuinely stupid. Not just like, oh, you made a small mistake. More like, oh, this person doesn't have it together.
Yeah, like it's not just about the language. It's about how people see your intelligence.
Right. Because language is how you express what you know. So if you express it badly, people might think you know less than you do.
And that's so unfair. Because the two things are completely separate. Like, you can be incredibly smart and still not be good at English. They have nothing to do with each other.
Logically, yes, but emotionally, you don't feel that way in the moment.
No, in the moment you feel like, if I say this wrong, they will think I'm dumb. And that's terrifying.
Especially if English isn't your first language and you're trying to, I don't know, be taken seriously in work or in school or whatever.
Oh, that's a big one. Being taken seriously. Like sometimes I'm in a conversation and I feel like I have such a good point to make, but I can't find the words fast enough, and so someone else says something, and the conversation moves on, and my point just evaporates.
I hate that feeling.
It's the worst. And the other person maybe said something less smart, but they said it quickly and clearly, so people listen to them.
And you're sitting there like, I had the better idea.
Exactly. And nobody knows because you didn't say it.
Yeah, nobody can read your mind, which sounds obvious, but it's actually something people forget. Like the idea you didn't say doesn't exist for anyone else. It only existed for you.
Wow. That's kind of sad and kind of motivating at the same time.
Yeah, it's like your silence doesn't protect your ideas. It buries them.
Okay, that one hit me. Say that again.
Your silence doesn't protect your ideas. It buries them.
Yeah. Because I think that's what I was doing yesterday. I was protecting myself. Like, if I don't say it, no one can judge me. But also, if I don't say it, no one hears me. And then what's the point?
Right. You're basically choosing invisibility over imperfection, and invisibility feels safer in the moment. But over time, it costs way more.
It costs your confidence, slowly. Like every time you don't speak, you're telling yourself, I can't.
Yeah. And your brain remembers that. Your brain is like, okay, so we don't speak. Got it. And then next time it's even harder?
It becomes a habit, a silence habit.
Exactly. And breaking a habit is so much harder than just building the right one from the beginning.
Okay, so can I tell you something embarrassing?
Always.
Okay, so I was maybe 18, and I was at this English class, and the teacher asked, Sarah, can you describe your weekend? Normal question, right?
Yeah, super normal.
And I had a weekend. I knew what I did. I went to the market with my mom. Simple. But the moment she asked me, my mind just went blank. Completely blank. Like someone turned off the lights.
Oh no.
And I could feel everyone looking at me. And I tried to say, I went to the... And I forgot the word for market. I know the word. I know it now. But in that moment, gone.
Yeah, that's such a specific kind of panic. The word you know disappears exactly when you need it.
And I just said, I went to the food place. The food place.
Oh, come on, that's actually kind of creative.
The class laughed. Not mean laughing, but still. And I wanted to disappear. I literally went home and decided I would never speak in class again.
Did you?
For like 2 weeks? No, I just sat there, very quiet, very invisible.
And did it help?
Of course not. I just got worse. Because I stopped practicing. And the fear got bigger because I hadn't faced it.
Yeah, avoiding something always makes it bigger. Always.
Okay, what about you? Tell me yours. What's your most embarrassing English moment?
Oh, man. Okay, so this is genuinely bad. I was at a job interview, not like a small one, a real one. And they asked me, tell us a little about yourself.
The most normal question ever.
The most normal question ever. I had practiced it. Like, seriously practiced it. I had a whole answer. 3 sentences. Clean, clear. I practiced in the mirror.
Okay.
And I sat down, and they asked, and I started speaking. And somewhere in the middle, I said, I am very enthusiastic about work, and I like to make the things good.
Make the things good.
Make the things good. I heard myself say it, and I thought, wow, I sound like a 5-year-old. And I kind of froze, and then tried to continue. But now I was flustered, and it got worse from there.
Did you get the job?
No. But I also wasn't great at the technical questions, so I don't fully blame the English.
Okay, fair. But how did it feel in that moment?
Like I had disappointed a version of myself. You know, like I knew what I wanted to say. I knew it perfectly in my head. But it came out scrambled. And I felt like this is not who I am. But they're seeing this version of me, and that's all they have.
That's the thing, isn't it? Language is kind of like a filter. It either shows your real self or it hides it.
Yeah. And when you're still learning, the filter is not very good. Like things get distorted. Your thoughts are complex, but what comes out is simple. Or wrong. Or both.
And people judge the output, not the input.
Exactly. They hear, make the things good, And they don't see the whole person who actually has real ideas and real experience. They just see that sentence.
Which is kind of a judgment on the listener, honestly.
Wait, say that more.
Like, if someone judges you based on your grammar mistakes and not on what you're actually trying to say, that says something about them, not you, right? Like, a smart, patient person hears "make the things good" and thinks, okay, they mean they work hard. A shallow person hears it and thinks, oh, they're not intelligent.
That's a good point. I never thought about it that way.
And honestly, most people aren't that shallow. Most people are actually trying to understand you. We just assume the worst.
Because we're the harshest judge of ourselves. Always.
Always. Nobody is listening to you as closely as you think they are. Nobody cares about your accent as much as you do.
Honestly, yeah. Like most people in a conversation are half thinking about what they're going to say next. They're not analyzing every word you use.
Which is both comforting and slightly annoying.
True. like you're so worried about being judged and the other person's just thinking about their lunch.
Okay, but let's get real for a second. Because I think there's something actually dangerous about staying silent.
What do you mean?
Like, not dangerous, but, there's a cost. A real cost that people don't talk about. And when you stay silent because you're scared to speak, you're not just missing one moment. You're missing the practice. And without practice, nothing changes.
Right. It's like, imagine you want to get strong, but you're too scared of looking weak at the gym, so you never go. You just think about going. And you watch videos about going. But you never actually go. And then you wonder why you're not getting stronger.
That's exactly it. You can study grammar all you want. You can memorize vocabulary. You can listen to 100 podcasts. But if you never actually open your mouth and speak, none of it becomes real.
Because speaking is a physical thing. Your mouth has to learn how to make these sounds. Your brain has to learn how to pull up words fast. And you can only train that by doing it, not by studying it.
It's like reading about swimming. You can read every book about swimming. You can memorize all the techniques, but you cannot swim until you get in the water.
And the water's scary. The water is cold. You might swallow some water. You might look stupid.
But you get in anyway, because there's no other way.
Exactly. And you know what happens when you finally get in the water? You realize it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, like the anticipation is always worse than the thing itself. Always.
Every time. That thing you're dreading? Usually when it happens, you think, oh, that was it. That was what I was so scared of.
Because your brain is really good at making things bigger than they are. It's like a horror movie trailer. The trailer is scarier than the actual movie.
That's such a good way to put it. Your brain makes a horror movie out of what if I say something wrong? And the actual thing that happens is just a small, awkward moment. And then life goes on.
And most of the time, nobody even notices as much as you think.
Right. Like I've made mistakes in conversations and thought that was so embarrassing, they definitely noticed. And then I talk to the person later and they have no memory of it. None.
Because they were busy existing. That sounds mean, but I mean it kindly.
No, it's true. People are busy with their own lives, their own thoughts. They're not sitting at home replaying the moment you said food place instead of market.
But I sat at home replaying it for days.
Yeah, that's the curse. The person you embarrassed yourself in front of forgot it in 10 minutes, but you carry it for years.
And then it shapes how you act the next time. So one embarrassing moment creates a whole pattern of silence.
That's the real damage, not the moment itself. The story you tell yourself after.
I sounded stupid, so I am stupid.
Instead of, I sounded stupid because I'm learning, and that's fine.
The second one is so much healthier, and also so much harder to believe in the moment.
Yeah. You know what helps me sometimes? I try to think about someone else in my position. Like, if I saw a person learning English and they made a mistake, would I think they were stupid?
No, I think they were brave for even trying.
Right. So why am I so hard on myself when I'm in the same position?
Because we have a completely different set of rules for ourselves versus other people. We're so gentle with others and so brutal with ourselves.
Which makes no sense, but here we are.
Okay, so can we talk about the overthinking thing? Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. Like, they know enough English to speak, but their brain won't let them.
Oh yeah, the overthinking trap. It's brutal.
Like, what happens in your brain exactly when you want to say something and you just freeze?
Okay, so for me it goes like this. I have an idea. I want to express it. Then my brain immediately jumps to grammar, like, okay, what tense is this? Is this past or present? What's the right preposition? And while I'm checking all that, the conversation has moved.
You're trying to edit while you write. and nobody can do that well.
Exactly. Like if you were writing a letter and every time you wrote a sentence, you stopped to check every word before moving to the next one, you'd never finish the letter.
Or the letter would take 8 hours.
Right. And conversation doesn't have that time. Conversation is live, it's happening now. So you have to let some things through imperfectly, or you don't get to participate.
I think, and tell me if this sounds weird, but I think some people are actually addicted to thinking. Like they feel safer in their head than in the conversation.
That's not weird at all. That's actually very real. In your head, you're perfect. In your head, your English is flawless. You say the right thing at the right time, everybody understands, nobody judges.
And then real life is a bit of a disappointment.
Yes, real life is messier. Real life has accents and weird phrasing and moments where you forget a word and have to describe it with your hands.
Okay, I've done the hands thing so many times. Like when you can't find the word and you just start gesturing and hoping people understand.
The hands are communication. That's valid.
I once described a microwave to someone by saying the box that makes food warm with the circle thing that turns beep, beep, beep.
And did they understand?
Immediately, they were like, oh, the microwave. And I felt like a genius.
Because you communicated, you got the message across. That's the whole point of language. Not to sound perfect, to communicate.
We forget that. We think the goal is perfect grammar, but the goal is being understood.
And if the person understood you, you did it. You succeeded. Even if you said the box that makes food warm with the circle thing, you won.
I like this reframe. Like the definition of success is just, did they understand? Not, was it grammatically perfect? Not, did I sound native? Just, did the message get there?
And most of the time the message gets there. Even with imperfect English, even with an accent, even with mistakes.
Because humans are good at understanding other humans. We fill in the gaps automatically. We hear, I go yesterday to the shop. And we know it means, I went to the shop yesterday. We don't stop and say, I'm sorry, this is grammatically incorrect. I cannot process this.
Unless you're a very particular kind of person. And those people are exhausting.
So true. It's the people who correct your grammar in casual conversation. Nobody invited that.
And also, like, English native speakers make mistakes too. All the time. Could have instead of could have. Your instead of your. People mix up words. People say incomplete sentences. Nobody is speaking a perfect grammar textbook in real life.
Nobody. And somehow everyone still understands each other.
Because the goal of communication was never perfection. The goal was connection.
Can we talk about native speakers for a second? Because I think a lot of people have this image, this idea of what a native speaker is, and they compare themselves to that image and feel terrible.
Yeah, the image is like perfect pronunciation, huge vocabulary, speaks fast, never hesitates, sounds like a movie character.
Right, and that image is not real.
It's so not real. Have you actually spent time around native speakers just talking? Casually?
Yeah, and it's a mess. It's beautiful, but it's a mess.
They say and constantly. They start sentences and don't finish them. They repeat words. They go, wait, that's not what I mean. What I mean is they trail off. They use slang that doesn't make any literal sense.
Oh, the slang. The first time someone said to me, no worries, I'll catch you on the flip side, I genuinely did not know what was happening.
What did you do?
I nodded very confidently and then immediately Googled it.
That's the move. That's the right move.
But the point is, native speakers don't speak like textbooks. They don't speak like news anchors. They speak like humans, which is messy and fast and full of gaps.
And if you've been comparing your spoken English to written English or to a movie with perfect scripts, you've been comparing yourself to something that doesn't exist in real conversations.
That's a huge realization, actually. Like, the English in movies is written by writers, polished, rewritten many times. And then the actors rehearse it. That's not how anyone actually talks.
Nobody in real life says, I have come here today with a purpose. They say, okay, so basically I'm here because... And then pause and say, ugh, how do I explain this?
Yes, real English is full of basically and kind of and I mean, and you know what I'm saying?
And those filler words, by the way, are useful. They give you time to think. When you say, you know, it's like that pause, that filler, it's not a mistake, it's a tool.
Oh, that's interesting. So instead of awkward silence while you search for a word, you use a filler word to keep the conversation flowing.
Exactly. Native speakers do it constantly. I mean, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? All of those are just buying time for the brain to find the right words.
And it sounds natural. It doesn't sound like a mistake. It sounds like a human thinking.
Because it is. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, this is actually one of my biggest learnings. That using filler words is not a weakness. It's a strategy.
It keeps you in the game, like silence signals, I'm done in a conversation. But I mean, or well, or honestly, those signal, I'm still thinking, don't stop listening.
And people will wait. They're patient. Most people want to hear what you have to say, especially if you've started saying it.
Right. Once you start speaking, people are invested. They want to know where you're going. They'll wait for you to find the word.
And if you can't find it, you can describe it, like the food place, like the box that makes food warm. People will figure it out.
And sometimes they'll just say the word for you. Like, oh, you mean the microwave? And then you know the word now. You learned it in real time.
That's actually one of the fastest ways to learn. Real conversations. Because the word comes with context, you feel it, you needed it, so it sticks.
Okay, so I want to go back to the judgment thing. Because I feel like we touched on it earlier, but there's more there.
Yeah, let's really get into it.
Because the fear of judgment is real. Like, it's not imaginary. People do judge sometimes, that's a fact.
Yes, let's not pretend everyone is always kind and understanding. Some people are impatient. Some people roll their eyes. That happens.
So the question is not, will anyone ever judge me? The answer to that is yes, people will. The question is, what do I do with that?
Right, because you have two choices. You can stay silent to avoid judgment, or you can speak and risk it.
And if you stay silent, you're guaranteed to not grow. If you speak and get judged, well, that's not great. But you're still better off than if you stayed silent.
Because at least you practiced, at least you tried, at least you got some experience. Even bad experience is experience.
And also, being judged is not fatal. It feels terrible in the moment. But you survive it every single time.
Every embarrassing moment I've ever had, I survived them all. And some of them I actually look back on now and laugh.
Like the food place.
Like the food place? Exactly. Like at the time I wanted to disappear. Now it's just a funny story.
And here's the thing about judgment. When someone judges you harshly for your English, what they're actually showing you is their character, not yours.
A person who mocks someone for trying to learn something is not a person whose opinion matters.
Right. That opinion has no weight. Like if someone sees you doing something difficult and says you're bad at it, and your response is devastation, you've given that person way too much power.
Yeah, you've let a random person with their random opinion determine whether you keep going.
And they don't deserve that kind of influence over your life.
Can we also talk about where the judgment usually comes from? Because I think sometimes it's not even other people judging you, it's you judging yourself and projecting it onto them.
Oh, that's deep. Say more.
Like, I sometimes assume people are judging me before they even react. Before I say a single word, I've already decided in my head that they think less of me, but they haven't done anything. They haven't even heard me yet.
So you're judging yourself in their voice.
Exactly. And then I act as if that judgment already happened. I stay quiet. I avoid the conversation, even though nobody actually said anything to me.
That's almost like preemptive shame. You shame yourself before anyone else gets the chance to.
Which is so strange when you say it out loud. Like, why would I do that to myself?
Because in some twisted way, it feels safer. If you shame yourself first, the other person's judgment can't surprise you. You already know it's coming.
But it's all made up. The judgment is made up. The opinion is made up, and you're suffering from a completely fictional scenario.
And while you're suffering from this fictional scenario, you're missing real life. Real conversations. Real connections. Real practice. Real progress.
Ugh, that's the cost, isn't it? The silence is not neutral. Silence is a choice, and it has consequences.
Every choice has consequences, including not choosing. If you wait until you're perfect before you speak, you will wait forever, because there is no perfect.
Even people who've been speaking English for 30 years are not perfect. There's no endpoint where you arrive and it's all fine.
You just get more comfortable with the imperfection. You make peace with it. You say, yes, I might say it wrong, and that's okay, because I'm saying it.
Okay, so let's be practical. Because I think people are listening to this and they're like, yes, I agree, but what do I actually do? Like, how do you actually start when you've been in the silence habit for a long time?
Good question. I think the first thing is you start so small that it's almost impossible to fail.
Okay, like how small?
Like, say one sentence out loud today. Just one. to yourself, in the mirror, out loud. My name is Sara, and I had coffee this morning. That's it. That's the practice for today.
One sentence. That sounds too simple.
It sounds too simple, but here's the thing. If you do one sentence a day for a week, you've got 7 sentences, and those 7 sentences are more than 0, and 0 is where you were before.
And the key is out loud, not in your head. Out loud.
This is so important. In your head, it's always easy. In your head, you're fluent. Out loud is where the work happens, because your mouth, your tongue, your breath, they all have to participate, and they need practice too.
Yeah, like I can think a word perfectly and then open my mouth and it comes out completely different.
Because thinking and speaking use different parts of you. And you have to train both. You can't train one and expect the other to just follow.
Okay, so step 1, speak out loud every day, even if it's alone, even if it's to yourself.
Step 2, find the lowest stakes situation you can to speak to another person in English. Like really low stakes. A cashier, someone in customer service, someone you'll probably never see again. The stakes are basically 0. If it goes badly, nobody's life changes.
I actually did this. When I was just starting, I would go to a coffee shop and order in English. Even if I messed up, even if my accent was bad, what's the worst that could happen? The coffee comes slightly wrong?
Right. And you practice the words. You practice the social interaction. You get a little bit of that experience, and then you build.
What about when you mess up? In those low-stakes situations, what do?
You laugh, or you just acknowledge it and continue. Like, sorry, let me say that again. People are fine with that. It's actually more charming than pretending nothing happened.
True, like when someone notices they said something wrong and they just smile and go, wait, I meant... It makes them seem more human, more likable even.
Because perfection is actually kind of cold. Imperfection is warm. People connect with the real, not the polished.
Okay, so speak alone, then speak in low-stakes situations, then gradually higher stakes. Is that the path?
Yeah. And the key word is gradually. Not all at once. You don't go from never speaking English to giving a public speech. You build up, slowly but consistently.
Consistently is the word. Not perfectly, not brilliantly, consistently.
Yeah. If you speak a little imperfectly every single day, you will be shocked at how different you sound in 6 months.
Because language is cumulative, every conversation you have adds something, even the bad ones, especially the bad ones.
The bad ones are where you learn the most, because you remember them, you think about them, you figure out what went wrong, and you fix it for next time.
I remember learning so much from one conversation where I got completely confused and someone had to stop and explain 3 different things to me. I was so embarrassed. But those 3 things, I never forgot them.
Because the emotional experience locked them in. That's just how memory works. We remember the things that made us feel something.
So the embarrassing moments are actually the best learning moments. They're the most efficient teachers.
Which completely flips the script, right? Like instead of dreading embarrassment, you almost want to invite it. Because that's where the growth is.
Okay, that's a very Zen perspective.
I'm not saying enjoy it. I'm just saying as when it happens, don't run from it. Use it.
Can we talk about small wins? Because I think people get so focused on the big goal, I'm being fluent, sounding native, that they miss the small progress they're making every day.
Yes, this is so important. Because small wins are what keep you going, and you need to notice them.
Like, what was your first real small win with English? Like something small that made you feel like, okay, I'm actually getting this.
Okay, so I remember the first time I watched an English movie and understood a joke. Like, not the dialogue, not the plot. A joke. Something that depends on wordplay or cultural context. And I got it. I laughed at the right moment.
Oh, that feeling.
It felt like crossing an invisible line. Like, I'm in. I understand something I wasn't supposed to understand yet.
Mine was the first time I dreamed in English. Like, I had a dream, and people were speaking English, and I was responding in English, and it felt totally normal.
Whoa, that's huge, actually, because it means your brain started thinking in English, not translating anymore.
Yeah, and when I woke up and realized what happened, I was so excited. I texted my friend at like 7 a.m. I dreamed in English.
That's a legitimate cause for celebration.
It is. And these little moments, they don't happen if you don't practice. They don't happen if you stay silent.
Right. These moments are the reward, but you can only get them if you put in the work. And the work is uncomfortable and awkward and sometimes embarrassing.
But the moments are worth it.
100%. The moment you understand a joke in another language, or you dream in it, or you have a conversation and realize halfway through that you stopped thinking about your grammar, that's the reward. And it's a really good reward.
And I think tracking those moments is important. Because on the hard days, when you feel like you're not improving, you need evidence that you are.
Yeah, like a journal, not a formal thing. Just notes. Today I ordered coffee in English and they understood me first try. Today I understood a sentence that I wouldn't have understood last month.
Small things. But when you read them back later, you see the whole journey. You see how far you've come.
And progress is almost never visible in the moment. You can't see yourself growing, but you can look back and see how far you've come. And that's motivating.
It's like taking photos of a plant. You can't see it growing day to day. But if you compare the photo from 3 months ago to today, you see the change.
Exactly. You are that plant. You're growing even when you can't see it.
That's weirdly comforting.
Okay, you're a plant. I mean, in the best way.
I'm a plant that speaks English. I'll take it.
Wait, can I bring up something that I don't think we've talked about? Because I think it's something a lot of people deal with but don't admit.
Yeah, go.
Sometimes the people who hold you back in language learning are the people closest to you.
Oh, yeah, that's real.
Like you try to practice English at home and someone makes fun of your accent. Or you try to speak in English with friends and they switch back to your native language because it's easier for everyone. And slowly you get the message. Don't do this here. This isn't the place for that.
And then you associate English with something foreign, something outside your world, something for other people, not you.
Yes. And that identity gap is a big deal. Like, if English doesn't feel like it belongs to you, you'll never feel comfortable in it.
Because you have to claim it. Like, this is mine too. This language is not just for certain people. It's for anyone who speaks it, imperfectly or perfectly.
Right. English belongs to whoever speaks it. There's no committee that decides you're allowed in.
I think that's something people with accents struggle with a lot. Like, they feel like their accent disqualifies them. Like, it's proof they don't really belong in the language.
But accents are amazing. Like, seriously. Accents are proof that you learned something. You took on a whole new language system on top of your existing one. And it shaped the way you speak. That's impressive.
And also, native speakers have accents too. There's no such thing as no accent. An American accent is an accent. A British accent is an accent. A Scottish accent is an accent. Everyone has one.
Yeah. Accent just means you're from somewhere. It's geography in your voice.
That's beautiful. Geography in your voice.
And people respond to accents differently. Some people find certain accents charming. Some find them interesting. Some people genuinely love hearing different accents because it tells them something about where the person comes from.
And yes, some people are impatient with accents they're not used to. But that's on them. That's their limitation, not yours.
You can't control how people hear you. You can only control whether you speak.
And speaking is always the right choice, even when it's scary. Even when you think you might sound stupid, because the alternative is staying stuck. And staying stuck is the only real failure.
Can I tell you about the moment something really clicked for me? Like a specific thing that changed how I thought about all of this?
Please.
So I was at this event, and there was this guy. I didn't know him well. And he was giving a short speech, and his English was not perfect. Like, he was clearly not a native speaker. He had an accent, he stumbled on some words, he paused a lot.
Okay.
But the thing was, I was completely captivated. Like, I didn't care about the mistakes. I cared about what he was saying. Because what he was saying was real, it was honest, it was clear. Not grammatically perfect, but clear.
The message was more powerful than the delivery.
Yeah. And I remember thinking, when I'm listening to someone speak, I don't actually care that much about the grammar. I care about whether they have something to say, and whether they mean it.
And then you thought, maybe people feel that way about me too.
Exactly. If I genuinely have something to say and I genuinely mean it, people will listen. Even through an accent, even through imperfect grammar, even through pauses and fillers.
Because they're listening to you, not to your grammar.
And that freed me. Like, I stopped trying to be a grammar textbook and started trying to just say what I mean. Clearly. With feeling. With intention.
And it works. Because I've noticed the people I most enjoy listening to, they're not always the most correct. They're the most real.
Real beats perfect every time. in every form of communication, writing, speaking, everything.
You can feel when someone is performing and when someone is actually talking to you, and the performance is always less engaging.
Yeah, because a performance has a wall between you and the other person, but real talk removes the wall, and that's when actual connection happens.
And isn't that what we're all looking for in any conversation? Connection, understanding, being heard.
Yeah, nobody's going home thinking that person was grammatically perfect. They're going home thinking that person made me feel something, or that person actually listened to me, or that person had an interesting perspective.
Grammar doesn't do that, the person does that.
Exactly. You are more interesting than your grammar. You always will be.
Okay, I want to circle back to one thing before we wrap up, because I think we said it earlier, but I want to really sit with it. The cost of silence.
Yeah.
Like we talked about the embarrassing moments, the fear, the overthinking. But what is the actual real-life cost when you stay silent for a long time? When you let fear make you disappear?
Okay, so you miss opportunities. Real ones. Like the job you don't get because you couldn't express yourself in the interview. The friendship you don't form because you couldn't start a conversation. The relationship that stays shallow because you never said what you really meant.
And those are huge. Those are life-changing things.
Jobs, relationships, opportunities to be seen, to contribute, to make an impact. All of those require language. And if the fear of imperfect language stops you from using it, you're literally blocking your own path.
You become your own ceiling.
Yeah. The fear becomes the ceiling. And it gets lower over time if you don't push against it. Because the more you avoid something, the more powerful the avoidance becomes.
And you also lose a piece of your identity. Like when you're silent in a group, people don't know who you are. You might be the most interesting person in the room, but they never find out because you didn't speak.
And after a while, you start to believe the silence is who you are. I'm just a quiet person. That's just my personality. But is it? Or is it a defense mechanism that became a habit?
I think a lot of people who identify as shy or quiet are actually people who were once afraid. And they got so used to being afraid that they called it personality.
That's a tough thing to say, but I think it's true for some people. Not all. Some people are genuinely introverted, and that's completely fine. But there's a difference between introversion and fear.
Introversion is I prefer smaller conversations. I need time to recharge after social interaction. Fear is I want to speak, but something is stopping me.
And if it's fear, then that's workable. Fear can be addressed. Fear can be overcome with practice and patience and a willingness to look a little stupid sometimes.
And the payoff is real. The person who faces the fear and keeps speaking, they grow, they get better, they become someone who people actually hear, someone who takes up space. In the best way.
Taking up space. Yeah, there's something about that. Like you're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to have a voice. Even if that voice makes mistakes sometimes.
Especially if it makes mistakes, because that means it's real. That means it's growing.
A voice that never makes mistakes is either a robot or someone who's not really saying anything.
True. The safest sentences to say are the ones that are completely empty. That's interesting. Yes, I agree. Nothing. No risk. No substance.
But the sentences with substance, those sometimes come out wrong. And that's the price of actually having something to say.
And it's worth paying.
Okay, so, last thing, if someone is listening to this and they've been stuck, like really stuck, silent for a long time, and they feel hopeless about it, like maybe it's too late for them, what do you say to them?
It's not too late. It's really not. Like, I know that sounds like something a motivational poster would say, but it's actually just true.
It's biologically true. Your brain is plastic. It can learn new things at any age. It can form new habits. It can get comfortable with things that used to feel impossible.
And the only requirement is that you start. Not that you start perfectly, not that you start confidently, just that you start.
And you might sound stupid at first, like genuinely. You might stumble. You might go silent in the middle of a sentence. You might say, food place. And that's fine.
Food place is valid communication.
Completely valid. And every great English speaker you've ever admired, they had a food place moment. Probably many of them. They just kept going anyway.
The difference between someone who gets good at something and someone who doesn't is almost never talent. It's almost always just, did they keep going when it got uncomfortable?
And can you be okay with being bad for a while? Because you have to go through bad to get to good. There is no shortcut around that.
And that's the thing about the title of this episode. Speak even if you sound stupid. Because the speaking is the learning. You can't separate them.
You don't get good first and then speak. You speak, and that's how you get good.
Which means every time you open your mouth, even if it's messy, you're doing the work. You're in the gym. You're getting stronger.
Every conversation is a rep. Every sentence is a rep.
Even this one.
Even this one. Right now, whoever's listening to this, if you're listening in English and you're understanding it and you're following along, that's a rep. That counts.
And if there were words you didn't know or parts you had to rewind, that's also a rep. That's also learning.
Everything counts. Everything adds up. Nothing is wasted.
Okay, so we've been talking for a while. What's the one thing you want people to take away from this?
Just one?
Just one, if you could only say one thing.
Okay, the silence is the problem. Not the imperfect English. The silence is what keeps you stuck. Speaking imperfectly moves you forward. Silence keeps you exactly where you are.
And mine is, you already have permission. You don't need to get better before you start. You don't need anyone to tell you it's okay. It's already okay. It was always okay. Just start.
Just start. Wow, that's actually a pretty good ending right there.
Should we stop here?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, so just to wrap it up nicely, you're not bad at English.
You're just at the beginning of it, or the middle, or somewhere on the journey.
And the journey continues as long as you keep going.
Which means it never ends. Which means there's always more. Which is actually kind of exciting if you look at it that way.
There's always more to learn. There's always another conversation to have, another word to find, another moment to connect with someone.
And all of it starts with not staying silent.
Speak even if you sound stupid, because silence is the real reason you're still stuck.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Thanks for asking me that weird question earlier.
Thanks for answering it. See you next time.
See you next time.